So basically, we're just trying to get a good bed of coals before we put the sap on to start processing and evaporating. So this is just the initial fire. You can kind of see here, you know, we start out, you've never built a fire, you start out with small pieces and then move to larger pieces so you get a good base going and stuff. And it's, I could go into the whole scientific procedure of it, pyrolysis and the whole shebang, but I don't want to bother somebody.
Well, the good news is the next unit we're going to do is building a sacred fire.
Okay.
And so it's harvesting materials and gathering in a good way and building a sacred fire. And
Okay.
so we don't have to worry about fire building today.
All right.
But next one. But I'll walk up. We've got your sugar shack is kind of started with the cooking. We've got the
Not
pans.
really a sugar shack, but lean-to.
Lean-to. The lean-to, the sugar lean-to. But, and yeah, we're out here again in the forest.
Yeah, you can kind of see too with the pans that we're using. The larger the surface area, the faster the water will evaporate off. So
put it right in so you can see.
Yeah, these pans will hold 20 gallons of sap each. And then we have a plug. That one, it's done. We'll drain it out. That way we'll do some, we do some like, we use a metal colander, fine mesh metal colander to strain the sap as we're putting it in the pans. Get out any coarse particulates. Last year we didn't do fine sampling or fine filtering. Yes.
Yeah.
This year we got some filters and stuff. I'm not sure how I feel about it. You know, yeah, we got the clarity for commercialness, but you know, we don't sell anything anyways.
Right.
I mean, plus all the nutrients, from what I've been told and the research I've done, are in that sediment or that sugar sand that's in there. That's what it's called, the sugar sand. So, but any sugar sand in there is actually just part of the natural process that happens when you process sap down to sugar. It kind of concentrates like minerals like magnesium and calcium in it. You know, there's a lot of dense nutrients in there. And so there might be some of that in there.
Okay.
So I wish I would have had a bottle from last year's. I should have had a bottle from last year's to the first batch this year to this week's, because it would have been interesting, you know, to show, you know, the comparison and stuff. So
Yeah, that would
I
be.
didn't think about that. So.
All right. We got a
Fire's getting going here pretty good.
leaning over and getting into the smoke.
Yeah. And you know, we choose, this isn't like super traditional, because typically our ancestors would have used copper pots. They would have taken everything down into like little sugar cakes, you know, because we didn't have mason jars, we didn't have, you know, they might have consumed a little bit of syrup in the moment, but we didn't have, you know, ways to preserve and store syrup. And so, yeah, it's all deadfalls and stuff. We could, after we get the sap on, cook it down, we'll take a walk out back, and we'll go over some of the other medicine that can be found in this forest. And then, it's like I said, this is all deadfall. We're not consuming fossil fuels like natural gas or LPG to process. You know, we're basically the maples are gifting us medicine in the form of sap, which we're cooking down to syrup and some, you know, like I said, I do some sugar, but we're also using other components of the forest to process it, other gifts. You know, dead wood is, in my opinion, it's a gift. You know, we're able to heat with it because we, you know, if you've seen the inside of the cabin up here, you know, we're using it to heat, we're using wood heat.
Yeah.
So this is all stuff we collected last night. It wasn't great. I mean, it ran a little bit up here, but conditions weren't ideal the whole week. Yeah, you can taste it. I mean, probably does it have a sweet taste to it?
A little bit. Yeah, got like a hint of it.
So, and I'll share the story with you that I heard about our people with maple syrup and why we do what we do now. And I'll do my best to like keep it accurate. And it's just stuff from doing my own research. Now, I know some people in the maple syrup community would probably say that we could skim off all this ice, that it's just water. And there's probably some truth to that, you know, because the sugar concentrates aren't going to freeze like the water will by itself. But because I want to be respectful of the gift from the tree, and it's just going to evaporate off anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not going to, you know, we don't dump the ice off. We could. You know, a lot of people, when they think of maple syrup or they've seen other operations, they think that it has to be this big, expensive, costly system. And everything we did here, other than making, you know, I had the pans made commercially with a sheet metal company. But other than that, okay. Even with ventilation, can still be pretty smoky. Yeah, see, like, get rid of that.
And you can see the fire in there still going.
And we just kind of set it up to where, you know, we kind of have our return and exhaust in the back, which I think you were just filming.
Yeah.
Keeping that fire hot. Basically, like this side here, because there's so little in it, because of the weather changes this last week, we're probably just going to cook this down, then we'll just transfer it over when that melts down enough. It's pretty much, you're going to get soot, you're going to get ashes. Strain out what we can. Filter it, we'll catch the rest. Sap, which leads to syrup. And so I really think, you know, the cultural aspects in there too, that, you know, I'm learning values that are not taught in our society. We live in a world of instant gratification nowadays, you know, where I can walk into the store, get what I want, pure maple syrup, and not have to think about the source of where it came from. You know, what it costs the trees to produce the carbohydrate rich, you know, maple water that it came from, you know, and so this gives me the cultural connection back to the world too, because I have to stop and ponder what it cost another being to give me this gift. And then it builds community. You know, yes, I mean, like, look at right here, it brought you up, and we're able to go through this and walk through the process together. And it isn't just the work, it's, you know, we're sitting here talking about culture and, you know, our people and our history, and that kind of stuff. And so I think that's where the cultural aspect comes in. And then, you know, your last question was, or is it a little bit of something else? I think, you know, the something else is that, you know, there's a certain amount of pride in doing stuff traditionally, and the fact that I'm able to, you know, produce something on my own without having to go to a farm or to a store to get it. Are you familiar with Aldo Leopold? So he's considered non-native guy, but considered the father of modern conservation. I would encourage you to read his book, The Sand County Almanac. For a non-native guy, he has like a lot of, you know, good insight that, you know, if he was a native guy, like our people would probably snatch up. But, you know, he says in there, he's like, there's two spiritual dangers in not owning a farm. One, that heat comes from the register or from a furnace, and food comes from a grocer, you know. And so I think that's where the other, you know, the other part that you were asking about is that we've gotten so disconnected with reality of what it costs to sustain our lives in society and stuff. So hopefully I answered all three of your questions and stuff. I think I did, but
Yeah, I think so.
you can see we're starting to get a good boil on here. We'll keep straining. You know, safety's paramount and stuff. It is. You know, past the boiling point, it's got water, so we know it's over, you know, the boiling point and stuff like that. And so if you touched it or fell in, it would not be good.
No. And the camera is getting all steamed up,
yeah.
but that's all right. That's kind of the point at this point. Like, that's what this is. It's just rolling steam coming off of these.
Yeah, we're getting rid of the water. Getting rid of the water so we can get the sugar content.